Sorry, everyone, my video cut off. All right, so continuing where we left off. From here, I'm gonna need a calculator to finish solving the problem. All right, now I know not everybody has the nice, fancy TI-inspired calculators that we have at school, so there are other options. Technically, you can do problems like this on your cell phone calculators, but there is another software that you could use to help you do this. It's called Desmos. Okay, so if you're on a computer, simply type desmos.com. And if you're on your phone, you can get the Desmos app. All right, so from a computer, when I go, I'm just going to open up this scientific calculator down here. All right, so it pulls up a calculator, kind of similar to what you have on your phone, but it's a lot easier to use. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to type this fraction in to my calculator. All right, so I'm going to make a division problem because as you can see, this is a division problem. And then I'm going to type it in. All right, so I have -5 plus the square root of 13 over 6. Okay, -5 plus the square root of 13 over 6. Because remember, there is no such thing as a plus or minus button, and we have to do them individually. All right, so this tells me my answer right here. Okay, it tells me that this equals, let me get my pen, sorry guys. This equals -0.232. Technically 232, 408, 1208, but I'm not going to go that far. Okay, negative 0.232. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing for my other problem. I'm going to type in -5 minus the square root of 13 over 6. -5 minus the square root of 13 over 6. Okay, which in this case for us equals -1.434. And those are going to be our two answers. Oops, I forgot my negative. I'm sorry, guys. -1.434 and -0.232. All right, so when you're doing these problems, round them to 2 or 3 decimal places. Okay, it'll tell you specifically with the problem. I just round it to 3 to be more specific, but you're going to want them as decimals. Be very careful if you're using your iPhone or Android calculator because it's kind of hard to control the functions on those. I would suggest something like Desmos where you can see the whole problem set up nice like this and make sure that you're typing it in correctly. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my previous screen and work on the next problem. Okay, so those are 2 answers. All right, clear this off. Just clear the whole page. All right. Now, we have 3 more problems, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So, 7, 2x squared minus 7x minus 18 equals -10. It's not in standard form, so we're going to put it in standard form. All right, so I'm going to add 10, plus 10, plus 10. So that gives me 2x squared minus 7x minus 8 is equal to 0. Now it's in standard form, so I can identify my A, my B, and my C. All right, so my A value here is going to be 2. My B value is going to be -7. And my C value is going to be -8. From here, I'm just going to plug those into my quadratic formula, which I will again write up top here for us. -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. All right, so now I'm going to plug these values into that formula. All right, so first thing I have is -b. So -7 plus or minus the square root of, we have b squared, so -7 squared. Sorry, it's not clicking. Minus 4 times our a value, which is 2, times our c value, which is -8. And all of that is over 2 times our a value, which in this case is 2. All right, so what we're going to do now is simplify this. Okay, so I have negative 7, that becomes a positive 7, plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared, negative 7 times negative 7, that's a positive 49, minus 4 times 2, that gives me negative 8, times negative 8, okay, positive 64, over 2 times 2, which is 4. All right, now I can continue simplifying this. So I have 7 plus or minus the square root of 49 plus 64. That's going to give me a 113, I believe, over 4. All right, now this is just like the last problem because 113 is not a perfect square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up into my two possible answer choices. Okay, I either have 7 plus the square root of 113 over 4, or 7, and 7 minus the square root of 113 over 4. Okay, so I have both of these answers. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get out that calculator and I'm going to type these into my calculator to find out what my decimals are. All right, so I'm going to go to my Desmos. You can use whatever you need to use, but Desmos is what I'm going to use. Okay, so I have 7 plus the square root of 113 over 4. 7 plus the square root of 113 over 4. That gives me an answer of 4.408. All right, and I've done half of it. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing, but instead of 7 plus the square root of 113, I'm going to type 7 minus the square root of 113. All right, that gives me a negative 0.908. 0.908. And these are my two answers, 4.408 and negative 0.908. And I'm done with the problem. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my sheet, and there are my two answers. All right, let's move on to number 8. I'm going to clear this off. We're just going to erase it like this time so I don't erase my formula. Save some time with my formula. All right, number 8. First thing that I need to do, just like always, is make sure it's in standard form. And it's not. All right, so to put it in standard form, first thing I'm going to do is add 3x squared plus 3x squared plus 3x squared. So that gives me 21 minus 6x plus 3x squared is equal to 0. All right, now it's equal to 0, but it's not in standard form. So I need my 3x squared to come first, then my negative 6x, and then my positive 21. So I have 3x squared minus 6x plus 21 equal to 0. Now it's in standard form, and I can identify my a, my b, and my c. All right, so my a value here is going to be 3. My b value is going to be negative 6. And my c value is going to be 21. All right, so I've identified them all, and now I can plug them into my formula. So I have x equals negative b, so negative 6, plus or minus the square root of, then I have b squared, so negative 6 squared, minus 4 times my a value, which is 3, times my c value, which is 21. And all of that is over 2 times my a value, which in this case is 3. All right, so I plugged it all in. Now what I need to do is go in and simplify it. Okay? Sorry. So I have negative 6. That's going to give me a positive 6. plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared. Negative 6 times negative 6, that gives me a positive 36. And then I have negative 4 times 3. Negative 4 times 3 is going to give me a negative 12. And negative 12 times a positive 21 is going to give me a negative 252. So I have 36 minus 252. And then all of that is over 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay? So now I'm going to simplify this one more time. And it's going to give me 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 216 over 6. All right? Now I'm going to stop there for a second. I have a square root of a negative number. All right? My discriminant is negative 216. So if you think back to the beginning when we talked about discriminants, anytime we had a negative discriminant, it told us that we had no real solutions. Okay? And the reason for that is because we can't take the square root of a negative number. If I put the square root, let me erase all of this, the square root of negative 216 in, well, negative 216 in my calculator, it tells me it's undefined. We can't do it. And that is why anytime you have a negative discriminant, it's no solution. Okay? Since we can't do it, the answer to this question right here is no real solutions. Oh man, that was awful, guys. I'm sorry. No real solutions. Anytime you get down to the end here and you have the square root of a negative number and you've simplified it as much as you can stop and say no real solutions because we can't take the square root of a negative number. All right, and we're done. Number 8 is done. That is our answer. Okay, we can't go any further. All right, last one, our challenge problem. Let me erase all of this and we will get started. All right, so what makes this a challenge problem is that we have a nice fraction, and nobody likes fractions, but we're going to work with it, okay? So it's already in standard form, so I just need to identify my A, B, and C. Here, my A is 1/3, my B is 2, and my C is negative 4. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug those in. X equals, we have negative b value, negative 2, plus or minus the square root of, we have that b squared, so 2 squared, minus 4 times our a value, which is 1/3, times our c value, which is negative 4. And all of that is over 2 times our a value, which again is 1/3. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to simplify this. All right, we have negative 2, which can't be simplified, plus or minus the square root of 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4, minus 4 times 1/3 times negative 4. Now, I'm going to do my negative 4 times negative 4 first. So negative 4 times negative 4, that gives me 16. And then 16 times 1/3, that's going to be the same thing as 16 over 1 times 1/3, is going to give me 16 over 3. Okay, so I have plus 16 over 3. All over 2 times 3. Or 2 times 1/3, I'm sorry, which is going to give me 2/3. All right. Now, what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to simplify my 4 plus 6/3. All right. Now, I can do that without a calculator, but I'm going to show you how to do that in the calculator, just for your reference. All right. So I'm going to delete all of this. Now, all I'm doing right now is just simplifying this part under my square root, under my radical. The 4 plus, then I need my fraction, 16 over 3. 4 plus 16 over 3. That tells me It's 9.33333, but I'm going to convert that to a fraction because I like fractions. All right, 28 over 3. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in and I'm going to write that in. So that gives me -2 plus or minus the square root of 28 over 3 over 2 over 3. Okay? Now I can break up into my two fractions, my plus and my minus, and I'm going to use the calculator from here. All right, so I have -2 plus or minus the square root, I don't want plus or minus anymore. All right, -2, I just want my plus, -2 plus the square root of 28 over 3 over 2 over 3. Then I'm going to do the same thing for my minus. -2 minus the square root of 28 over 3 over 2/3. Now, when I type these fractions in, I'm going to be very careful because it's hard to type fractions into fractions. All right, so I got to make sure I'm very careful. I'm going to start with my fraction. I'm going to type -2 plus the square root of, and I'm going to put another fraction in, 28 over 3 over, now I'm going to put my 2/3 in parentheses just to be safe. All right, so let's see, did I type it in right? -2 plus the square root of 28 over 3 over 2/3. Yes, I did. So that gives me an answer of 1.583. Perfect. That's my first answer. 1.583. Then I'm going to do the same thing, typing in my second answer. Okay, so this time I want -2 minus the square root of 28 over 3 divided by 2/3. All right, that is going to give me negative, I'm going to type it down here so I don't get in the way, -7.583. -7.583. And those are my two answers, 1.583 and -7.583. Okay, go back to our notes, and we're done. We found both solutions for that problem.